Before the noise begins, before the world demands your name, your time, your proof of worth, say this: today is not ordinary. It looks like yesterday. It carries the same weight of minutes, the same sky, the same grind. But it is not the same. Today is unwritten, and I hold the pen only briefly. I will not measure the day by what I get, but by what I give. The world taught me to keep score success, attention, comfort, but my soul is not a vault for trophies. It is a garden, and gardens grow by giving things away, light, water, rest. I am not my fear. Fear wakes early. It speaks before my first thought. But I will not repeat its lines. I will not offer it my voice. I will name it a visitor, not a ruler. I have survived every fear before this one. Today I will do so again. I will speak truth to myself louder than the world shouts lies. I am not too late. I am not too broken. I am not forgotten. I am not defined by who walked away, by what I lost or what I lack. I am defined by who is with me still, and by the quiet resolve that I will walk forward, even when the road is dim. I will guard my thoughts like treasure. A stray thought can shape a ruined life. But a single, sturdy truth repeated can resurrect one. I will think on what is good, what is eternal, what is lovely and full of grace. And when my mind wanders, I will gently return it, not with shame, but with strength. I will forgive early and often. Bitterness is a luxury I cannot afford, not today. I will not waste my precious morning rehearsing what wounded me. I release it. I lay it down. I was made for more than anger. I was made for mercy. I will not wait to feel ready to begin. I begin now, with trembling hands, with half a plan, with imperfect prayers. I begin not because I am ready, but because today began and I must answer it. And finally, I will say this: there is beauty I have not yet seen, kindness I have not yet given, and grace that will meet me when I least deserve it. This is not just a morning. This is a turning point in disguise. I will live like it. Feelings arrive without asking permission. They enter like weather, unpredictable, sometimes warm and welcome, often cold and fusing. One morning we rise with hope humming quietly in the chest, and by afternoon dread has settled like a fog. We feel elated, then empty, bold, then broken. Feelings are not fixed, they are wanderers, drifting in and out like tides. And yet many live as if emotions are commandments, as if to feel a thing is to become it, as if the temporary sway of the heart must determine the direction of the soul. But I am not my feelings. I have feelings, just as I have hands, lungs, thoughts. They are part of me, but they are not me. I am something deeper than emotional will, a chooser, a soul that stands before every surge of feeling and decides what it will make of them. The heart may stir, but it is not the compass. Desire may shout, but it is not the voice of truth. I must not mistake what I feel for what is right, nor what is hard for what is wrong. The noblest things are rarely the easiest to feel, and often the most eternal decisions are made in silence, while emotion rages just outside the door. To be human is to feel deeply, yes, that is no flaw. We were not meant to be machines or marble statues. Grief, longing, joy, anger, compassion, they each have their purpose, but none of them should wear a crown. Emotions are advisors, not rulers. The moment I let them dictate my identity, I trade sovereignty for slavery. If I say I am anxious, I have agreed to something more than a passing experience. I have called it my name. If I say I am worthless, I have confused a wound with a fact. If I say I am too broken to go on, I have surrendered the story before the next page has even been written. But I am who I choose to become. Not what I feel in this hour, not what I felt last night, not what I may feel again tomorrow. The truest part of me is not what changes, it is what I build in the midst of the change. I can feel terrified and still act with courage. I can feel discouraged and still take the next small step. I can feel envy and still choose to bless another. I can feel weary and still keep the promises I made in the light, even when I walk through shadow. The battle is not to erase my feelings. It is to remember that they do not define me. Emotions are waves, and I am the shore shaped by them, yes, but not washed away. What makes a soul strong is not the absence of storms, but the decision to stand firm when the winds howl. Character is not proven in the moments when joy is easy and peace is plentiful. It is shaped in the hour when every fiber screams give in and the will, quietly and without applause, whispers not yet. So when I wake with dread, I will say, this is how I feel, but it is not who I am. When I walk through disappointment, I will say, this is what I carry, but it is not what carries me. When I am overwhelmed by sorrow, I will say, this is the shadow, but I walk toward the light. When I am angry, I will not lash out as if justice is mine to dispense. When I am afraid, I will not halt as if risk is synonymous with ruin. When I am tempted, I will not agree that desire is destiny. Every day I have a choice not over what I feel, but over how I respond. I am not a leaf thrown about by emotional winds. I am a tree with roots, and those roots must go deeper than passing moods. They must be planted in truth, not convenience, in hope, not sensation. For the feelings of this morning may fade by noon, but the person I choose to be today will still be with me at dusk. So I will not chase the mirage of emotional certainty. I will chase integrity. I will chase faithfulness. I will chase the kind of quiet strength that does not rise and fall with every inner tide. The modern mind is intoxicated with the language of ownership. My time, my space, my schedule, my truth. As if to name a thing mine is to control it, to place it safely in a vault of permanence. But the truth is gentler and far more humbling. I do not own this day. I did not manufacture its hours. I did not bargain to receive it. I awoke and it was simply here offered, not earned. It arrived unasked for, fresh and unspent, quietly laid at my feet like a gift waiting to be opened, not a possession to be hoarded. There is something liberating, even sacred, about realizing that this day belongs not to me but to the one who gives all days. I am not the author of time, I am its reader. I do not craft the sun's rising or the breath in my lungs, I merely receive them. And what is received can be wasted or it can be well used. It can be grasped with greed or held with grace. This is the quiet burden and privilege of stewardship, to be entrusted with something not for self-indulgence but for service. Stewardship begins where entitlement ends. If I believe the day is mine, I am tempted to think it exists to please me. I grow frustrated when things go wrong, indignant when others interrupt my plans. I demand that life bend to my expectations, but if I believe the day is given, not owed, then even the interruptions become invitations, even the discomforts become part of my assignment. A steward does not dictate the weather, but he still tends the field. He does not command the clock, but he honors its passing. To steward the day is to treat it as holy ground. It means asking not what do I want from these hours, but what is required of me within them. It shifts the focus from craving to calling, from convenience to commitment. It demands attentiveness. Laziness and indulgence are easier when we imagine time is disposable. But when we see each moment as something borrowed, we treat it more gently, more wisely, more thankfully. There is a deep dignity in living as a steward. It means I am not aimless. I am not a prisoner of chance or routine. I have work to do not in a frantic, prideful sense, but in a purposeful, sacred one. The work of kindness, the work of prayer, the work of showing up with full presence in the lives I touch today. Perhaps no one will applaud it. Perhaps no one will even notice, but the invisible is often the most eternal. The smallest acts stewarded well, holding a tongue when anger flares, listening when the heart is tired, praying when no answers come. These are seeds planted in the soil of eternity. This day is not mine to clutch with anxious fists. If I try to hoard it, I will only find it slipping through my fingers. But if I open my hands and offer it back in service, in gratitude, in intention, I find that the day expands. A day received as a gift becomes a day filled with meaning. A day owned becomes a day consumed. A day stewarded becomes a day multiplied. The steward does not need every answer in the morning. He needs only the humility to begin, the wisdom to discern, and the courage to continue. He does not compare his task to another's. He simply asks, what is the faithful thing to do here with this person in this moment? Whether that task is grand or unseen, whether it's heavy or healing, his only job is to be faithful in it. Not flashy, not perfect, just faithful. When I remember that the day is not mine to own, I stop trying to dominate it. I begin to partner with it. I stop demanding that it entertain or flatter or reward me, and instead I ask it to shape me, to teach me, to discipline me into someone more whole, more honest, more useful in the hands of the one who gave it. Because in the end I will give this day back, and the question will not be how much of it I use for myself, but how much of it I gave away in love, how much I cultivated what was given, how well I bore the weight of this one day placed into my care without any guarantee of another. There is no path free from shadow. Even the most sunlit meadow casts darkness behind the trees. The moment light exists, shadow follows. And so it is with the soul. We long for clarity, for unbroken joy, for certainty untouched by doubt. But life, in its quiet wisdom, rarely offers such simplicity. Instead, it offers contrast moments of light laced with sorrow, peace tempered by tension, hope whispered alongside grief. The shadows walk with us, not as curses, but as companions that remind us we are not yet home. Still, I will walk in light. I will not wait for the shadows to vanish before I move. I will not stall my steps until every fear is gone, every ache healed, every doubt silenced. If I wait for perfect conditions, I will never take a single step. The call is not to walk in certainty, but in light and truth, in goodness and love. Light is not the absence of difficulty, it is the presence of clarity in the midst of it. And when light walks with me, even the shadows cannot claim me. There is a difference between walking in shadow and walking with shadow. One is a life consumed by darkness, the other is a life aware of it, yet undeterred. Shadows do not mean failure. They are not proof that light is missing. In fact, they exist because light is near. Where there is no light, there is no shadow, only void. And I have not been cast into void. The very presence of the shadow stretching beside me means something holy still shines over me. Fear often tries to convince me that shadows are signs of defeat. It whispers that the anxiety in my chest, the memories that ache without warning, the questions that remain unanswered, these mean I have fallen. But fear lies. To feel the shadow is not to fall beneath it. The test is not whether I feel the weight of darkness, but whether I keep walking in spite of it. Light is not always a blaze. Sometimes it is a flicker of fragile flame held in trembling hands. But even the faintest light knows where it's going. To walk in light is a choice. It is not always accompanied by feelings of joy. It may not come with emotional reassurance. But it is rooted in something firmer than feelings, conviction. Conviction that goodness still exists, even when it's hard to see. That beauty is still possible, even when brokenness tries to cloud it. That truth remains truth, even when it doesn't shout loud enough to drown out the lies. This is light, not delusion, not denial, but defiant clarity in a world that often prefers distortion. I will not walk in rage, though anger tempts me. I will not walk in despair, though pain invites me. I will not walk in bitterness, though betrayal follows close behind. I will not give the shadow more attention than the path ahead. It may stretch beside me, sometimes even cross my feet, but it will not determine my direction. I was made for light, and light is not found by accident. It is chosen again and again, often in silence, often in secret. Even when I do not see the full road ahead, I will trust the step I've been given. Light often illuminates only what's near. That is enough. I need not see the distant horizon to keep moving forward. Faith is not about the distance visible, but about the direction chosen. And if I walk toward what is honest, noble, merciful, pure, then I am walking in light, even if shadows trail beside me. There will be days when the shadows lengthen, days when sorrow deepens, when the burden presses down with terrible weight. On those days, the light may seem faint, but I will remember that the sun still shines behind the clouds. That dawn always comes, no matter how long the night. That truth remains unshaken, even when all around me shifts. I will walk in light, not because the shadows have disappeared, but because they will not have the final word. Every soul is a garden. Some parts lie well watered, others choked with weeds. Some corners burst with fruit, while others lie dormant, waiting for care. But whether lush or neglected, every garden grows something. The great lie we often believe is that we are passive observers of our own minds, helplessly at the mercy of whatever thoughts, fears, or desires happen to blow through like wind. But the truth is quieter and far more terrifying. We are not observers. We are gardeners. We are feeders. We are cultivators of what lives within. Every day I feed something. Every moment of attention, every word I rehearse in my head, every emotion I give space to, these are seeds. And seeds left unchecked do not disappear. They root, they rise, they grow. Feed resentment, and it multiplies. Feed fear, and it builds a fortress. Feed envy, and it will poison every blessing I have yet to notice. But feed faith, and it too grows quietly, steadily, until one day it holds up a roof I did not know I was building. Faith is not a vague optimism, nor is it emotional certainty. It is not blind belief that all will be well, but bold trust that all will be made right, even if not today, even if not by my hand. Faith does not deny difficulty. It walks directly through it with open eyes. And like anything living, faith grows only when nourished. It does not flourish on accident. It thrives on intention, on what I choose to remember, to repeat, to plant inside myself when no one is watching. There are many voices clamoring to be fed each day. Fear always speaks first. It does not wait its turn. It interrupts, imagines worst-case endings, disguises itself as wisdom. Cynicism, too, begs to be fed. It offers comfort in the form of detachment. It tells me it is safer not to hope than to hope and be disappointed. Pride demands food as well. It asks me to nurse old wounds, replay old slights, fortify my self-importance. And if I feed them, if I water their words with my attention, if I give them shelter in my thoughts, they will not quietly fade. They will flourish. But today I feed faith. I feed it not because it is strong, but because it is true. I feed it with small choices. I speak truth even when I feel doubt. I show kindness even when I feel overlooked. I say thank you even when I feel empty. These are not grand gestures, they are seeds. And faith often begins with the smallest seed, buried deep in a place no one sees. Yet somehow, that seed splits stone. Somehow, what is planted in silence can bloom into strength. Feeding faith means being deliberate about where I place my attention. The world is noisy, and noise is cheap. It floods the mind with urgency and fear. But faith listens for a still small voice. It reads words that have survived generations, not just headlines that expire in minutes. It draws near to silence, not because silence is easy, but because it is honest. Faith flourishes in stillness. And to feed it, I must learn again and again how to be still. There are days when feeding faith feels like feeding the wind, when no growth is visible, when every prayer returns quiet, when every truth feels dry in the mouth. But faith is not a transaction. It is not a formula with immediate reward. It is a relationship, a slow, unfolding trust in what I cannot yet see. To feed faith is to plant for a season not yet arrived, to water soil I have not yet walked on, to tend the roots even when the fruit is distant. And so today I choose to feed it. I will guard my thoughts like a gatekeeper. I will watch for what I allow to take root. I will not allow every fear to parade unchecked through my mind. I will not speak failure over what God is still for. I will not dismiss the power of small, faithful choices, for I know this: whatever I feed will grow. And if I tend to faith, it will not fail to rise. We live in a world obsessed with authorship. Write your own story, they say. Be the main character, they urge. And while there is something noble in taking responsibility, In refusing to live passively, there is also a subtle arrogance wrapped inside that cry for self-authorship, a belief that life begins and ends with me. That meaning is something I must manufacture, that the worth of a life is measured only by what I can script, what I can edit, what I can control. But I am not the author. I am a line brief, specific and placed with intention in a poem so vast, so intricate, that no single line can contain its meaning alone. I was not born to hold the pen that writes the stars into motion or names the end from the beginning. I was born to belong to a rhythm I did not create, a truth deeper than the ink of my own desires. And this is not a limitation, but a liberation. I do not carry the burden of defining the whole, I carry the sacred weight of being one chosen line. A line in a poem cannot see the entire verse, it does not know how the stanza will resolve. But that does not make it meaningless. On the contrary, it is made all the more meaningful by its place in something larger than itself. A single phrase, rightly placed, can echo for generations, and so can a single life. Though I may not see how the plot will unfold, I trust that it does. Though I may not know why my line bends in sorrow while another rises in joy, I trust that both are held by the same hand. We long for control because control feels like safety. But poetry is not written with spreadsheets and ledgers. It is written with soul. And soul work is messy, mysterious, and full of pauses. The best poems leave room for breath, for quiet, so that the reader might sit with wonder. And so must I. I cannot demand to be the climax of the story when I was written as a quiet turning point. I cannot insist that my scene be the loudest when it was meant to be whispered, not shouted. To be a line is not to be small, it is to be necessary. Remove a single line and the poem weakens. Change its tone and the whole rhythm stumbles. My part matters, not because it is mine, but because it was chosen. I may not understand the full meaning of my existence, but the one who writes does. I may ache for answers that do not come, but the author wastes no ink. He uses sorrow as skillfully as he uses joy. He writes loss with as much care as victory. There are no stray marks in his book. And yet, even as a line, I am not passive. I do not sit lifeless on the page. I live it. I speak it. I shape my tone by how I walk through the day, by how I love, by how I forgive when the script feels unfair. My line has a voice, and though I did not write it, I bring it to life. A poem without breath is only ink. But a poem read aloud, lived aloud, has the power to awaken sleeping hearts. There are days when I wonder if my line is miswritten, when pain seems too sharp or silence too long. I question the point of it. Why this choice? Why this path? Why not something louder, brighter, more heroic? But then I remember the beauty of a poem is not in each line standing alone, but in how the lines connect. Perhaps my quiet sorrow is the echo that softens another's bitterness. Perhaps my unnoticed faithfulness is the thread that ties someone else's courage in place. I may never see it fully, but that does not mean it is not real. We do not always understand the tone of our own lines. Sometimes what feels like a lament is the beginning of a crescendo. Sometimes the closing of one stanza is the necessary silence before the next begins. My task is not to make sense of it all. My task is to live the line well, to carry it with honesty and humility, to speak it with truth, to hold it as sacred because it was not given to anyone else. No one else can be my line. No one else was written with my ink, shaped with my soul, placed in this exact moment with this exact purpose. And so even if I tremble, even if I do not fully see where the story is going, I will live my line with reverence. We live in a world that praises the tangible. We believe what we can measure, trust what we can count, follow what we can see. Our hands are busy shaping the material, and our eyes scan constantly for evidence, for proof, for something solid to hold. We are trained to call the physical real: stone, steel, flesh, currency, applause. And yet we know in the deep places of our soul that the things which truly move the world cannot be weighed, cannot be captured in glass cases or dissected under light. I can touch a coin, but not the greed or generosity behind it. I can hold a hand, but not the love or bitterness that lives beneath the grip. I can stand in a house, but I cannot measure the peace or chaos that fills its walls. The deepest realities are invisible. They are not illusions or metaphors. They are not poetic imaginations meant to console the weak-minded. They are the infrastructure of existence. Like the roots of a grape tree, unseen beneath the soil, they are what gives strength, what gives stability, what nourish the visible from beneath. Faith, hope, honor, mercy. These are not ornaments of life, they are the framework. Without them, the things I can touch lose meaning. What is a body without a soul? What is success without purpose? What is speech without truth? I may achieve all I desire in the realm of the visible, yet live as a ghost in my own story, because I was not made only for the seen. I was not made merely to consume or to be admired. I was made to believe, to endure, to reflect a light that no eye can see, but every heart can feel. Even pain bears witness to this. The deepest wounds are often not physical. What breaks us most is not the bruise on the skin, but the betrayal in the silence, the abandonment that has no scar to show, the loneliness that cannot be diagnosed by any doctor. We grieve what we cannot see. We long for what we cannot name. And still we live as if the visible is all there is, until something shakes us and we are reminded that there is more, always more. The unseen does not mean the unreal. Wind cannot be grasped, yet it shapes the sea. Gravity cannot be seen, yet it anchors planets. Love cannot be dissected, yet it can resurrect the human heart. We are so quick to believe in algorithms, in wireless signals, in energies we cannot trace, but slow to believe in a God who speaks in silence, in a hope that burns when everything else fades, in a purpose not born of circumstance but of eternity. To say the unseen is more real is not to despise the visible. It is to see the visible rightly. Everything I touch is temporary. It decays, it passes. It changes shape and color and meaning. Time eventually takes it from my grasp, but what is unseen, what is eternal, does not rot with years. It does not rust or wrinkle. It remains, it deepens, it shines brighter as other lights go out. The soul knows this. That is why it aches when we treat the eternal as optional. That is why it hungers even in plenty. And yet it is hard. We want to see. We want to know. We want to stand on something visible and call it certainty. But the unseen life calls for a different kind of strength, not the strength to lift, but the strength to trust. Not the strength to dominate, but the strength to surrender. It is easy to put faith in what glitters, what can be counted or displayed. It takes far more courage to trust in a promise not yet fulfilled, in a truth that asks you to walk before you see, to give before you receive, to love before you are loved in return. Still, the greatest moments of life are shaped by the invisible. The moment a soul turns from hatred to forgiveness, the choice to stand for truth in the quiet of a private moment, the prayer spoken when no one is watching. These will never be headlines. They will not earn trophies or trend online, but they move heaven. They echo in eternity, and they are more real than any monument built in stone. I will not judge reality by what fades. I will not mistake noise for depth. I will not let the shallow masquerade as the true. There is more than what my eyes can behold, more than what my hands can grasp, more than what this world calls real.